In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a martini glass out of a dollar bill. Now, the designer of the model does not recommend using a dollar bill, as he says the process is unpleasant and the product is small and ugly. I happen to disagree and think it's a wonderful tip, and any bartender who's received it has been very excited and appreciative. Now, before we get going, I'd like to issue a word of warning. This is a difficult model. It requires many precise folds, and the finishing twist assembly process is very difficult, and it is not easily shown. It is something that you're going to have to learn to feel and create on your own. So again, this is a very difficult model, and not everybody's going to be able to finish this. So know that going in. Take this with a lot of patience and stick to it, and most of you should be able to get it, but I certainly can't guarantee everybody will. Okay, of course, the first thing we're going to need for this is a dollar bill, and the crisper the dollar bill, the better. You need to be able to find your creases, and the creases need to be able to fold where you put them. If you're using a dollar bill that is been circulated, it will not hold up very well. It won't hold the creases where you want them, and all in all will make a difficult model quite frustrating. So make sure you have a good clean, crisp dollar bill to start with. So now we have our dollar bill. We will start with the white side up, although it doesn't really matter which side starts up. It just seems to look a little bit better if you start with the white side up, meaning that the final product will have the green side showing. And what you're going to need to do is divide this dollar bill into 12 equal sections. And that is a little difficult. First thing you're going to need to do is divide the dollar bill into 12 equal sections. Now, dividing paper into thirds is easy in concept, but just takes a little bit of practice to be able to do it consistently. The process by which you divide a piece of paper into thirds is called the S method, S squash. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to create a double curve with your paper, and you're going to slowly work the edges until they all line up. This edge lines up with this, and this edge lines up with this. And as you continue to carefully slide back and forth, you will eventually arrive at thirds. So as you keep sliding back and forth, you slowly decrease the radius of this turn until it looks like you've got, and now it'll take you several attempts, and the more precise that you can make this, the better it will be. So you want to keep doing this until right about there, and then you pinch, and that's how you make thirds. Again, this process takes a little bit of practice to get it until you can do it fairly quickly and fairly consistently. And now you've got a bill that is divided into 3 sections, and then from there the rest is fairly straightforward. Now that we have our bill in 3 sections, we want to make sure that we divide it into 12ths, all valley folds. So this one, find that crease, we line up our edges, and we make that a nice sharp crease. And for a model like this, it's really helpful to use a bone folder because these creases are very important. Go to open that up, and then take this, and you're going to fold right where that pinch mark is, or it should also line up with this edge reaching this crease exactly, because you have, of course, divided it into absolutely perfect thirds. And there we have our bill with third creases. Now, from there, we're just going to go ahead and fold each of these sections in half, folding this edge to that crease. And this process will then give us a bill that is divided equally into sixths. And then from there, we of course will fold each of these sections that we're creating now in half to create 12ths. Now the center one's easy. You just actually fold the entire dollar in half, and that will put the center crease in. And so I have a dollar bill creased into sixths. Again, each section gets divided in half, giving us our bill that has the requisite 12ths. Fold that in half. Now, you just go forward, that crease will be there. If you just go to the next crease, that will divide that section, that next section, in half. Now, it pays to pay a little extra attention and make sure that your creases are as precise as possible. Again, I go to the next crease, and that's on an existing crease. This next crease, once I line up the edge there, will divide the next section in half for me. At this point, I'm going to do the same thing coming from the other side. Take this edge to that crease. Then roll it forward, and when it reaches next crease, that should lay on a crease I already have. Roll it forward to the center crease, which will divide the next section in half. And then I just have this last section to go. So now, be careful though that as you go this way, that you don't go to the very next crease, because then you'll start dividing these creases into fourths, which is not what you want. So a way to double check that you're doing it correctly is to look at the two creases there and there and make sure you're about lined up like that, and then go ahead and find the crease that you're next to and use that to help set that crease. All right, now that we've divided the bill into 12ths, we're just going to take, I'm just going to set this crease a little bit more. We're going to take this corner right here and just going to fold it up at a 45. Now the only reason why we're doing this is we're looking for this as a reference. So go ahead and make this as nice of a 45 as you can. Like that. And what I like to do is I also like to do that on the other side, because when you're, even though the instructions don't say it, and I'll show you why in a second, it helps me keep my next fold going straight. So go ahead and fold that side up as well at a 45-degree angle. And what that's going to do is that gives us our guide for folding this next fold, because we're going to fold this up from this point to this point. So you just use that triangle you folded up as a guide. You can also use the creases that are in the paper and line those up as you go down. And that will definitely help you keep this fold straight. So again, this model really is good if every time you make a fold, you take the extra time to make sure that you're putting it in straight, and then you go ahead and open these corners because their job is done. Put in that crease. Go ahead and exercise that crease, mountain, valley, because you're going to need to have it be a flexible crease in the model. Go ahead and set that nicely. Now once we do that, this next crease is a little bit of a judgment call. What you're going to do is you're going to fold this top edge down so that it just comes just a little bit below the crease you just put in. It's a bit of a judgment call. What you're putting in is the distance of the top part of the Martini glass. So just go ahead and fold it and just pass that crease a little bit. There's no magic formula. Going across, making sure that your edges line up. And then go ahead, open that up, and again, take that and fold it back along that same crease. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to add mountain folds in between each of these 12 sections. And what we're going to do is we're only going to crease them in between those two creases that we just made. So between this crease here and this crease right here, we're going to put mountain folds running from this crease to this crease, cutting each of these 12 sections in half. And whenever I'm doing a model that has very small creases that need to be in a very confined area, a very definite area, I use this tool. I found this, surprisingly enough, actually I found it at an electronic supply store. It's a clay modeling tool. I have no idea why they were selling it. But this flat area right here is an excellent crease tool for doing this kind of work. So I highly recommend you getting something that has a small flat area that you can use to set creases in very specific areas. This really makes this kind of model a lot easier. There's a lot of different things around the house that you could probably use to do that. The end of a pen probably would work. So find something like that. But now we have each of these 12 sections that we're going to need to put a mountain fold in. And so turn the bill over, and all we're going to do is we're going to fold this edge to that crease, setting it in between our two crease lines with this. So here you can see crease line here and crease line here, and so I'm going to fold this edge to this edge, putting a crease right there. And it's going to be very hard to see this crease because it's going to lay right in this area. I'm going to fold this to that crease. Now, sometimes it's helpful to help you see where that crease is. If you crease it like this and fold this back under, you can really see where that crease is because it's right at the edge of the paper. So you're just going to roll and find that edge. Pinch it down, and this is where I'm going to use the flat end of this tool to go from this crease to this crease, which you can't really see in there, but there it is. So you're also going to need to make sure you have good light. So I'm just creasing. Of course, the paper is going to bend a little bit beyond the crease, but I'm only setting it as a hard crease in between those 2 points. So I've put a mountain fold in the white side, the front side of the bill. And then you're just going to do that all the way down, all the way down, cutting each of these 12th sections in half with a mountain fold on the white side. And how I usually like to do this as I continue going along is I'll take this fold here, and again I will fold it back so you can see it easier. I need to put a crease in between this crease and this crease right here. So I'm going to take that fold and put it to that fold, kind of making an accordion, creasing it, opening the flap up so I can get underneath, and again only creasing from one crease to the next crease. And then of course just open it up to the next one. Take that edge, fold it to that edge, putting a crease in the center. Opening it up to get to the under side and setting the hard crease in between our guide creases. Now that you've successfully put in your mountain folds in between all of your valley folds, you can move on to the next step, which is where it starts getting tricky. Up to now, we've just needed to be precise. Now we're going to get, we're going to see what kind of folder you really are. And as you can see from the instructions here, what we're going to do is we're going to take, this is the mountain fold that we just put in. And so now we're going to put in a mountain fold where that crease hits the bottom crease to where this valley crease comes down. So on our dollar, that's going to look like this in that. And again, with a patterned dollar bill, some of these creases are really hard to see. You can't see them because I can't see them. So you really are going to have to get in close. But right there, here's the edge of that first mountain fold comes down to this crease here. So this point here is this point. And so I'm going to need a mountain fold that goes from here down to here. Now we have a small set crease in here from when we folded up that corner. Don't let that get in your way. Ignore that. So we're going to need to put in a mountain fold from here to here. And so the way I find it easy to do that is you fold it forward on this valley fold. This is the valley fold here where that crease is going to intersect. Fold that forward and then fold it back on that partial mountain fold that you have, and then hold that up at a 90-degree angle. And so what you're going to do is you're going to fold this back so that it reaches here, and comes to a point there. And I will be doing that several more times. This is something you're just going to have to get the feel for. But you open it up and you can see I now have a mountain fold from this point down to this point to this point. Okay, so now the next fold is our partial mountain fold, and then we go to the next valley fold. We fold up on that valley fold, and now we're going to fold back. We're going to hold this at a 90-degree angle, and we're going to just kind of pull this back until it makes a nice point there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this down right on that partial fold that we made. Pull this back. Actually, at this point, it's easy to use my fingers because I can work my fingernail right up to that point. And then I use this to really help set that point. And I will try and get even closer for the next one. All right. So again, I find the next valley fold. Go ahead and reinforce that crease. Then I find this partial fold where I can hold it up at a 90-degree angle while keeping this down. And then what I'm going to do is take this, and basically you're just folding back on this. And so you're going to pull that back until it comes to a point there. And you're going to slowly work it until it hits that point there, where this is your partial fold and it intersects with this. And then you set that fold nicely. And then you have a nice crease right there. And I'll do it again. So here's that partial fold. Here's the next full valley fold. I push it forward. I go ahead and reinforce that crease. And I'm going to fold this up at a 90-degree on this partial fold here. And then after I do that, I'm going to take this and fold it back along this crease here. And I'm going to work this back. It's actually much easier with the finger. I'm just trying to use this so you can see what's happening. But with the finger, it's a lot easier to roll that until you get to that point and just work it until you come to the intersection there. And then set that crease. And that's very nice. And you're just going to keep doing that all the way down. And then once you get to the very end, the point where you're going to fold is you have one of your partial fold here, and you're going to just take it from that point to the corner. And so that process can be achieved pretty much the same way as if you would fold this back. So you just would fold this back like this, as if the rest of the bill were here. And then this one does take a little bit of extra encouragement to make sure. There we go. We have just finished step number 8. We have put in all these diagonal mountain folds. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put in, using the same process, mountain folds that go from the top of our partial vertical crease to the other corner, going backwards. And the process for that is fairly similar, because what we're going to do is, again, we're going to take, this is our partial. So this here, again, is our partial that's hidden within the design. It's very difficult to see. And so we're going to go from that partial to this corner point. And then here's the next partial. We're going to go from there to this corner point. And so, like I said, it's really going to be pretty much the same process. Go ahead and work that crease going lengthwise across the bill. And that will help you put in these creases. And so the process, again, is pretty much the same. Starting at this bill, this side of the bill, our partial, again, is hiding, and the design is right there. And it's going to go from this crease up to here. So it's pretty much going to go in the same direction as these creases. So this is going, again, so this crease is going to go in the same direction as these creases that you put in. This one is going from this corner up this way. And so this just starts here and goes the same direction up. The way we're going to fold those creases in is we're going to fold forward on the vertical that goes all the way across, and then pinch the partial fold here, and we're going to push back on this part until it reaches that crease there, and we're just going to work it towards that point. See how this is very much the same process that we used to put the crease here. So again, find a vertical crease. In this case, I'll go to the next one, push it forward, then fold this up on this partial crease, and then pull this back until it opens up here and comes to a point there. Open that up. Find the next valley crease, go forward, put it back up on the partial crease, and then fold back on this crease here, working it towards that point. You don't want to hold it too hard here, otherwise you won't be able to find that point. So if you're holding it, you're going to hold it down tightly, hold it down over here so you can use your finger to pop that point out. Or you can hold it from back here, right at that crease, and that might help too. But it's difficult for me to show that. So and again, this last one, you're going to pretend like this edge of the paper is your valley crease. So you're going to fold that under. Here's your partial crease here. Fold back on that crease. And go from that point to the corner. This takes a little bit of practice to get this one as well. Okay. Now we have a dollar that has quite a lot of creases in it. We have our major sectional valley creases there. We have our half or partial mountain creases there. And then we have mountain crease that leads this way from here up to here and then this way. You can see that pattern. All right, this next process is really going to try your patience. You've got to really be on your game for this one, because what we're going to do is we're going to put a crease in between here, 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 all the way down. And they're going to be alternating. We're going to put a mountain fold, then we have our existing mountain fold, valley fold, existing valley fold, new mountain fold, existing mountain fold, new valley fold, existing valley fold. And that's the way the pattern is going to be. It's just two mountains, two valleys, two mountains, two valleys, because as you get start to try to make all these folds, you can kind of lose where you are, and sometimes you got to open it up and, okay, reset yourself. And this is the way you're going to do it. You know, turn the bill over. And what you're going to do, and this is what the instruction is going to show you, is you're going to take what is now a mountain fold, but were the valley folds that ran the length of the bill, the height of the bill. And what you're going to do is you're going to fold that over, but don't set that crease all the way across, because underneath you're going to have this partial fold, which is now, well, if you're looking on this side, it's a valley fold. but the white side of the bill there. No, sorry. So yes, so don't set that crease. So don't set this crease all the way across. Just hold it right here where that partial is. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take this edge here that you've just created by making this pleat, and you're going to fold that edge to this crease right here. So again, what you're going to do is when you're looking at this side of the bill, you're going to find what is now mountain fold here, and you're going to push it over alongside this partial crease here. So again, just push it there, but don't set on either side. And now what you're going to do is you're going to take this edge and you're going to fold it back, both layers, until it lines up with this crease right here. Okay, so we folded that over to there. And now we're going to take, and you can see the crease we're aiming for right here. So we have this, and we're going to fold it to that crease. And again, we're only going to crease in between the two major horizontals. So crease from there. We're going to crease down until we get to the next major horizontal right here. You can see it there. All right. And so what we've done now is we've put one mountain fold. If we open it up, we have now put in a valley fold here and a mountain fold here. And so you're going to just do that, covering the whole rest of the bill. Doing the internal folds is fairly easy with that process. When I was telling you about the pattern, 2 valley, 2 mountain, 2 valley, because you're going to get to the edge of the bill and you're going to be like, I need to fold something here. I can't use that process anymore. How do I need to put a valley, mountain? What do I need to do? So remember that pattern. But of course, when we get there, I'll show you that as well. So again, you're just going to take a mountain crease that's running the length of the bill, and you're going to push it over. Again, don't set the crease. Just hold it in between this crease running across the bill and this crease here running across the bill. And you're going to fold this folded edge back to this crease here. And once you've done that, you're going to set the crease in between those two longitudinal folds. And you'll start to see that we're getting this very crimped dollar, which is exactly what we want to do. And so continue doing that process forward and back. Okay, so I've gotten to the end of the bill here, and I don't have enough to do that whole process again. But knowing the pattern of folds, again, is 2 valleys, 2 mountains, 2 valleys, 2 mountains. So I see that I have two mountains, two valley folds, two mountain folds, and then a valley fold. So I know that in between this valley fold and the edge, I need to put it in a valley fold. So then I can just fold this edge into this crease to create that final. Remember, I'm going to the crease here, not the lines on the bill. Okay, so I have now folded that kind of pattern all the way to the edge here. And I started this process not right in this, right at the edge of the bill, so I need to go ahead and start now this end, doing that same process. And of course, now that I've done it here, I don't have the ability to do that process on this part here. But again, using what I know about the fold order, I've got two mountain folds here, I've got a valley crease there, and I got a valley crease there, so this one would be a mountain fold. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in by turning this over and folding this in, of course only creasing in between that, my longitudinal creases. All right, I think there's a section in here. I've got my little ridge here, and I got a couple more ribs to put in. Okay, now that we've put in all those ridges, we have just these extended creases to put in. And it's just taking one of those, and let's make sure that we're looking at it white side up. We're just going to extend a few of these partial creases to the bottom, not up to the top, just to the bottom. And so we're going to count our major sections, and on the 4th and the 7th and the 10th, we're going to just extend the crease we have there. So you can see our major sections here. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's the 4th major section. And I'm going to take the partial mountain fold that's in the center of that section, and I'm just going to extend it all the way to the bottom. That's actually a really easy process. I'm just going to fold it and extend it like that. So that was major section 4. Now I'm looking for 7. So that's 4, 5, 6, and this is 7. I find that partial valley that's in the middle. Now don't be confused, or partial mountain. Now don't be confused, because there's also a mountain fold on this side that we put in, and there's a valley fold on the other side. So you want the mountain fold that's in the center of this major section. And you're going to extend it to the bottom. So that was major section 7. And so this is 8, 9, and this is 10. There we go. Now we're going to roll this, and we're going to overlap 2 of those major sections on either side. And it doesn't matter whether you wrap it this way or this way. After you do it a couple times, you may find that you have a preference that you find easier. I haven't discovered makes a big difference to me either way. So again, you're going to overlap 2 of those sections. And now, I hate to tell you that you have done the easy part. This is going to be, I don't really know how well I can show this to you, because every time I make this, I am convinced that I'm never going to make it happen, and it just happens. So I'm going to do my best to show it. It's something you're going to have to learn to get the feel of. This is if you've gotten this far with the project, congratulations. That still does not guarantee that you're going to get yourself a martini glass out of this. As you can see, here is the instructions to do the wrap, overlapping the two sections, and then pinch it. The major longitudinal creases that we've been using through the whole model to give us direction, here and here, this is going to flare out and become the bottom of the glass, while this is going to flare out and become the rim of the glass. All right. And the way we're going to do that is you've got these major creases at your major sections, and you're going to have to hold where you overlap it and make sure that it stays together. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to fold along those major sections, and you're going to try and collapse it as tight as possible. You're just going to squeeze it in, trying to keep those sections together. And it doesn't look like it's going to happen, and it never does. And then you see what I'm doing here is I'm starting to pleat those sections. I don't do it all the way around. I'm just trying to get this kind of tight, because what's going to happen is once I've kind of got here, I mean, you can see I've got it together, but it's not perfect by any means. But I'll have a section here where I've sort of got the major pleat and that kind of half fold over. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start pulling out the top part of the martini glass, and that's going to happen on that major longitudinal crease. And as I start opening that up, it will start encouraging the other pleats to get in line. And so this is where it really should start coming into its shape. It won't quite be there yet. Sometimes I like to turn it over, and I lay it flat on a table, and I push it down, and you can see how it's starting to form the rim of the martini glass. And so you're just going to start working, and at the edges the pleats should come completely undone. Okay. Now from there, you can see it still doesn't look anything like it's gonna work. Then I'm going to take the bottom and do the same thing, but this is a much tighter, and this part is important. You have all of those creases here that you put across. You can see that crease right there. What I'm going to do is when I open this up, I'm going to make sure it folds on that crease like that. And I'm going to do that all the way around. You can kind of see what's going on the inside. Now, everywhere where you put this crease right here that comes all the way down is actually going to overlap. So you see how this kind of petal of the bottom opens up all the way. This one opens up all the way, but this one now has this loop in, and that's because we put that extra crease in, and that's supposed to happen. So leave that looped, overlapped as you open the bottom. And there's another crease. And make sure that the overlap I'm slowly Okay, what you have here is a work in progress. All right, this is the basics of it. But what you're going to do now is you're going to go through and really tighten up Now, look what I'm doing here at the bottom. I found that this really helps, is that, see, this is coming out like this. What I do is I take this and I fold it in like that. I fold this in, gives me a little bit of triangle there. That one's sort of already doing it naturally. That one's already doing naturally. Okay. Now where you have this overlapping flap right here, you're going to have two ribs that go together. And so they will fold over together. And this is another rib section where I should take two together. Okay, it's starting to come together. Again, it just doesn't look like it's going to amount to much of anything, but it will. And that's when I start. This really helps encourage the shape. And one thing I like to do is do a little rollover on the rim. That takes a little bit of a practice to get that just right. What I'm doing now is I'm pulling at the pleats to make sure that they're completely spread apart at the rim. I mean, you don't want to pull too hard, you don't want to rip the paper. But as you go around, just give a nice deft touch. That really, the rim and making sure that the pleats are completely spread apart really helps emphasize the shape of the Martini glass, and then you can work on getting the neck together. And then for the bottom, the directions have you do a locking fold where you take, again, you want to make sure that the pleats are completely spread at the corners. Now the instructions have you take where you have this overlapping flap and do a fold and then a tuck, or another fold and then a tuck. I don't do that. It doesn't seem to be necessary, especially because what I do I have another way of finishing off the model. But again, by making sure you're pulling these pleats out, one thing you're doing as well is really then tightening in the base of this. If you need to reset some of these. Now, to help shape the bottom of this, I use a quarter. And you'll see the quarter is just a little bit smaller than the base. So go ahead and make sure that you have the base stretched out as much as possible. Center the quarter, and then I just roll the base around the quarter, making sure the quarter doesn't shift as you're doing this. Get those as firmly wrapped over as you can. Then take out the quarter, and now what you're going to do is you're going to, as best as you can, is fold those back along that quarter edge. I mean, you're not going to get a perfectly round, well, I don't get a perfectly round crease. Maybe you will. But by having kind of a round base, that helps emphasize the Martini glass look. Now, right now it's still, I mean, it sits uneven. Things aren't still like looking really great. So now I'm setting those creases, and as I'm doing it, if you see the Martini glass, say it's listing to one side, and so I use my thumb to pull it in the nail, so you can use it to pull it in different directions depending upon what direction you need to go to make it stand straight. And now really just going and tugging and pushing it in different directions to get it to be as symmetrical as possible. And usually once I get to this point, I just slowly shape it bit by bit, try and make the base look a little more rounded. It's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. And so I don't try to shape it completely like in one or two goes. I don't try to shape it directly in one or two or three or four or five goes. I just carefully shape it. So this is something you're just going to play with for a little bit, tugging it, twisting it, to get it in so it looks like you want it to look. So this is really where the artistic part and the I mean, if you've gotten this far, you've certainly showed patience. But now it can be tempting to just rush it because you're done folding it. But give it a little bit of extra time and a little extra handling. Set the creases, get it looking as good as you can. And like I said, I guarantee that any bartender you give this to will be extremely appreciative. I wish you all the luck on this. It's a very difficult model, and you're really going to have to show some patience, show a little bit of a sculpting touch. That final collapse is, I don't know, like I said, every time I do it, I just don't think I'm going to make it. It never looks like it's going to happen. And even as I'm halfway through, it looks ugly. But once you finish it, once you get close, just keep going. And I found that I always eventually manage to make it happen. So patience. Be gentle. Don't put too much force into what you're doing. And you should be able to coax out a nice looking martini glass.